Assalamu alaikum, lovely. Peace be upon you. Hope you are well. My name is Nazreen and I'm a coach and I help women master their emotions, and I also will be starting training them to help their families do the same. So that's really something I'm really excited about because it recently came to me to do this because I do it with my own kids. And if you do want to see the video where I share with you on, well, not with you, but people in the group, because it's private, it's personal, it's about my daughter, and you can get access to the group by going to my Facebook page, visit group, and just let me know in one of the boxes there that you want to see that video, and I'll tag you to the video. Because I share with you how my daughter just wasn't listening to advice, to what I was saying, because there was so much emotions going on. She was feeling like 100% sad, I think 21% angry about the situation that was happening in her life. And it was about a matter of all day, just no advice was going in. And it was until I did this intervention with her, after that she was like, oh, just amazing. Like, she was just able to manage herself and be at peace with the situation in her life. So that's where this passion has come to train other mums to do the same with their kids. So I'm passionate about that. That will be starting soon, and if you do want more information about it, it will be on my website, which is at flourishonpurposewithnaz.com. So I want to talk about this today because it's really helped me go through tests in life in a much more peaceful way than I probably would have if I didn't know about this. So my first, should I say, big test in life came when I was about 19 or 20, and it was when I had my first miscarriage at 19 weeks, and then I had another one a year later, about the same weeks, 20 weeks. And at that time, I looked at tests like a punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and so did people around me as well. And I used to get introduced like, oh, that poor girl that doesn't, can't keep children, she keeps miscarrying them. So it was like very negative, and that's not how Allah wants us to look at tests. Tests are completely different. And then it was after that I learned how tests are supposed to be in life and what the purpose of them is, which I think still our older generation don't always know unless if they study it. They still think tests in life are like a punishment, and that you've done something wrong, and that, yeah, Allah, please stop this from happening. And although we always want good, we always ask for good, we don't ask for tests, but we do always ask for good and khair and afia. But how do we know that this test that we are going through or could go through, or somebody else is going through, is bringing them khair and afia in a different light, right? Maybe their health isn't great right now, physical health, but their spiritual health is excelling, right? So we don't know the bigger picture, but this is just some quotes that I want to share with you that I read recently as well, that I've known about for a long time, but I'm going to read them. It's like, ultimately, we were created, whether we believe it or not, whether we think about it or not. I shouldn't say believe it or not, but whether we think about it often or not, we do forget. But we were created to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We were created to become more of how Allah wants us to be, to reform our character, right? We came into this world with so much, right, a programming from our childhood, picked up stuff from our generations from before, but ultimately we need to be more of how Allah wants us to be, following the sunnah, following the sahabas. And so when we are tested, we are, like, you say something, right? When everything's calm, when everything's comfortable, we say lots of things that, our faith is high then. But when we're tested, when we're going through a difficulty, we're going through adversity in life, that's when our default comes up, and we can see our flaws, our weaknesses, the lack of faith that we have, and where the work needs to be done. So they expose our faith or lack of faith. And as I said in the Quran, do people think they will be left to say we believe and that they will not be tried? So tried tests will always happen. will always happen. And if Allah said this to his people, do people think, then it's a blessing that we will be, because it's gonna happen. It's never not gonna happen. We're never not gonna have any problems, and if we do, it's a blessing, because they will show us our default, what is actually happening. So let me give you an example what I mean by this. So for a long time I said, I'll be okay with any health issues, you know, I'll manage, you know, it comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it cleanses us up, and you know, like dying is good. Dying is good. I never thought of dying as a bad thing, and it was a positive thing, because it's gonna happen, right? We can't not. We're all gonna die, right? So how about accept it? So I was verbalizing this to people, to myself. Oh yeah, dying's good. It's all good to die. We have to die. You know, I'm looking forward to that part of life where nafs is not there anymore, and you know, I don't need to program it all the time. But then when I experienced a little snippet of it, recently, where although alhamdulillah it didn't happen, I'm still here. Walaikum salam Aisha, hope you're well. I did experience it, so I was trialed on this, I was tested on this. My default, although I've got aeroplane mode on, I don't know how calls keep coming in. So my fear of death came up. My fear of leaving my kids behind came up, you know, at the age of 11 or whatever they are, right, at that time they were. And so all this logic that I was talking about went out the window. My default came up, my lack of faith came up. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is so that you can probably look at tests in a different way. That's why they're there to show you the lack of faith and the faith that you've got, and be grateful for the faith that you've got. And if you haven't got that certain element of faith, work on it. So I saw that, oh my gosh, actually that was all not real. I was actually a hypocrite. I was saying all this, yeah, it's all good to say when you're comfortable in a nice healthy place, but when I experienced, you know, death or coming up to death, I was scared. I didn't want to die because I didn't want to leave my kids. Where did all that logic go? Right? Where did Alvarez, what I always, you know, I read and reflect on Allah's names, I'm looking at them right now. Where did that go? Because my default came up. It was scared. I didn't want to leave them. I wanted to, you know, to at least be alive till they get married. So the nafs stuff, my nafsi stuff came up. And you'll probably think, well, that's all legit, that's okay. But I'm just, what I want to explain here is my lack of faith showed up in that area. And that's what I had to reprogram, and I'm so grateful for the techniques, and I always go on about this, that I've got to reprogram and talk to my nafs, to my mind, and bring in the logic into the default. Because when I was going through that experience, I was able to reprogram it. It was okay, well actually you actually you were not ready for death. You were talking about it, but you were in logic, you know, your default wasn't, your unconscious mind wasn't ready for it, because you're obviously scared about it. Yeah. So what else was it? You're actually scared about your kids. Well, Alvarez, that you always talk about, that Allah will look after them, your default is not quite believing that yet, so you need to work on it. So my gosh, I'm so grateful that I experienced that, because all that stuff that I was talking about logically actually did not go in to my the unconscious mind. And I was able to put it in now. I was able to put it in, because if it happens now, although we always ask for hair and the goodness of this world and the next world, I'm in a different place now. I'm in a different place, because my mind, all I need to do right now, because I do think there is some external things I have to do in regards to this. Just to give an example, like I need to do a will. That's definite. I need to do a will, because you never know when you're going to leave. It doesn't have to be predictable leaving this world. It could happen suddenly as well. So it's preparing me, that situation and that trial prepared me for the biggest reality, which is death. Okay, so when there's a trial that happens, when we're getting tested, we need to see, where are we lacking in faith? Where did all this logic that I used to talk about go out the window? And how do I need to bring it back in and reprogram my mind? So number 2, why we get tested. No calamity befalls a Muslim, but that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expiates some of his sins because of it, even if it were a prick of a thorn. And that's from Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in Bukhari Sharif. So we don't experience any difficulty other than it cleans our sins. So what a blessing. I mean, we run away from problems here, but our problems in the next life are going to be more. So the problems here are, you know, I don't know where I read it as well. Someone who, I don't know who told me this, but people in the grave would want to come back in this world just to go through trials, because the trials of the next world are way more painful. So there's blessings in it. So look, if someone you know is going through a trial, a situation, admire them because their sins are getting down, and we sin all the time. No one can hear say no one sins. Only prophets are messengers are, you know, sin free. We all sin all the time, every single day. So we're getting cleaned. So it's a blessing. It's a different type of a blessing that is in disguise, and so much good comes from them anyway. Like, I've had so much good from my calamities, adversities, that I've seen later on in hindsight, in wisdom later on, years later. You know, so much good has come from them. There's always ease with difficulty. It's always with it as well. So it takes away our sins. So if you see someone in a test, you know, be grateful that you're not going through it as well. I'm not saying I'm not saying for you to want the trials, but I want to do it's not a punishment, and don't look down on people who are going through it. Look at them like, oh my gosh, their station is getting bigger. If they work on themselves, if they work on the areas that are needed to be worked on, their stations are getting higher. So it's a place where we should really want to have the same attitude when we ever go through our trials and tests, because we will. Number 3, a test can sometimes replace a worse misfortune. Perhaps Allah said, perhaps you like something that is not good for you, and you dislike something that there is good in. That's in the Quran. So we don't know what one misfortune has happened, but it's replaced a bigger one. Is that the right way of saying this? So you could go through something which looks like a challenge, but it could be that if you didn't go through that, something worse would have happened. So always look that Allah's doing the best for you. There's always goodness for us in every situation. And any time of faith, you know, kind of like doubts that, work on it. No judgment here. You can reach out to me anytime if you feel like, no, I'm not sure about this. I just spoke to somebody who was attending the group coaching calls for free, and I spoke to her. She wanted a one-to-one, and I just gave her one-to-one. It was, okay, this is what's happening in your life, and this is where you'll probably need to work on. There's some fear there, and anytime there's fear, there's low faith, there's low trust in Allah, right? So work on that. We don't want to judge it. Say, oh, you don't believe that. We work on it. So what's the purpose of that? Because most of the stuff that we have are from the past anyway, and most of the time we see something as a child and we hold on to it, and as a child who doesn't know much wisdom at that time, we keep it, we think it's true. So we've got to reframe that, reprogram that, so our faith in Allah increases. And that's why we're here for Allah. Every relationship that we have, every conversation typically is we have with our loved ones, is to bring us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if we're open to it. So that's it really. Tests are to expose our faults and weaknesses to ourselves, and with that awareness we can improve. It enables us to be more focused and proactive in rectifying our aspects of our character. Well, that's what we're here for. We're here to rectify our character. Like an example I gave earlier on, logic was there, but it wasn't really sinking in. When I experienced it, I was actually scared. So I had to reframe that and rechange that scaredness, because when you're scared, you're not trusting. If you trust, think about it, if you trust your loved one, your mum, she'll look after you, right? I don't know what situation. A baby trusts their parent, always. They know the parent will feed them on time. There's trust there. They'll change them, and there's no scariness. The baby's not scared. they know they'll be looked after. And it's a probably different example, but when you trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know you will always be looked after. Even the test, there's always good in them. There's always khair for the believer. Hope this was useful. If you find it useful, share it, tag anyone that you think will benefit from it, because we can easily go into the punishment mode. Oh, I'm getting punished for this situation, when really it's there to improve our character. It's there as a blessing, but we need to be aware of it. Again, you can reach out to me if there's something you're not sure about. If you think that there's two parts of you, there's logic part of you, and then there's other part of you that's scared, and we release those emotions. When we release those emotions, the logic comes in and we're able to be more how Allah wants us to be. And I will catch you in the next video.